everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie. I read a lot of books, I binge watch American Horror Story, and I recently dyed my hair. I wasn't expecting to go lighter. I sat in the chair and she was just like, okay, so what are we doing this time? And I was just like, I think I want to go blonde. So it was a complete surprise to do it, but I absolutely love it. If you see me looking this way, it's because there's a mirror right next to me and I'm still getting used to it because it's only happened in the past few days. So I had it done on Friday, today is Sunday, and I washed my hair for the first time this morning since I had it done, and yeah, I love it. So this week we are continuing with American Horror Story. So this time we are talking about season 4, Freak Show. Things I've got to say about Freak Show, bloody hell. So I'll start off by just going through the cast list. So you've got Sarah Paulson as the conjoined twins Bet and Dot Tatler. You've got Evan Peters as Jimmy Darling, Michael Chiklis as Del Toledo, Frances Conroy as Gloria Mott, Dennis O'Hare as Stanley, Emma Roberts as Maggie Esmeralda, Finn Whitrock as Dandy Mott, Angela Bassett as Desiree Dupree, Kathy Bates as Ethel Darling, and Jessica Lange as Elsa Mars. And then you do also have people from previous seasons, people like Lily Ray, Naomi Grossman, Jamie Brewer. Where to start with Freak Show? Sarah Paulson as the conjoined twins, because the whole introduction to them is brilliant and scary and also really sad as well, because you've got this whole thing of they're talking about acting like it's something that's just never happened before. And you know, this is set in 52. The first episode's set in 52. It's set in the 50s and they're acting like it's never happened. And of course, like, this is the 1950s. Of course this has happened before. Conjoined twins. But it's the fact that they've survived. The whole introduction to the twins and kind of their backstory is really heartbreaking. In the information I've got about them, it says they have I can't speak. I've no idea how to pronounce that. Dysphilic parapagus? I'm not medical, I have no idea. Basically, their conjoined body consists of a single torso with one pair of arms, one pair of legs, but two distinct heads and necks. Bet is the left side and Dot is on the right from their own perspective. So you've got two very clear characters there, because you've got Bet, she's innocent, she's friendly, she is obsessed with the Hollywood glamour, she kind of wants to be kind of the famous one. And then you've got Dot, who's a bit more cynical, she's very distrusting, but it's obvious that because they're sisters, they're twins, they're in the same body, they've got a very particular bond. It's obvious that kind of relied on each other the whole time, especially when you look at kind of the abuse that they suffered at home and looking through that storyline as to how they kind of came to be where they are and how they ended up with the Freak Show, how they were discovered. And it's all kind of like hearsay basically how it happened, because when you've got Elsa Mars, who's played absolutely incredibly by Jessica Lange, because Elsa's got her own secret which comes out a lot later in the season. At first glance you don't consider her one of the freaks, you just see it kind of like the ringleader of the circus, of the Freak Show, and then as you go on you realise that she herself is considered a freak. The whole introduction to the twins, and then kind of when you're the first shot of the twins in bed at the hospital after what happened at home and kind of what led them there. Really hard to talk about without completely spoiling that storyline, which I think I'd rather people watch it rather than me tell them in this video how they came to be. When it comes to the twin storyline, it is really sad, and the way they're introduced makes it seem like a horror thing. I mean, I haven't talked about Hotel yet, obviously, but like one of the first things you see in Hotel is two normal people in a hotel. They notice something smells bad, they cut open the bed and a hand comes up, and it's just like, that's the scary thing. It's just like, I feel like Bet and Dot are supposed to be like this big scary thing. When they first appeared on screen, it's like, this isn't scary to me. Maybe it's because, you know, I'm aware of twins like that. There's a very famous set of twins in America who have something very similar, and so it wasn't really such a big surprise. But yeah, the fact that that's presented as kind of the scary thing, it's more fascinating than scary. You've got Jimmy darling, played by Evan Peters. He's known as Lobster Boy in The Freak Show because he has syndactyly. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce these things. Basically, he has parts of his fingers are fused together. You know, from the nickname Lobster Boy, that his hands make you think of lobster claws. That's where it comes from. I think some people might be more aware of this recently with the new version of The Witches. There was a bit of a backlash to the new Witches film starring Anne Hathaway because the witches were portrayed as having claws, but it closely resembled syndactyly. When I saw The Witches, and I was just like, I completely understand why people were offended by this, because it's obvious that nobody thought it through. Because now if children see people with this condition, they're going to assume that they're witches or they're bad people. It's just like, no, this is a disability and they were born with it, and it has no bearing on who they are as people. It's just how they were born. You've got character Del, who's known as Strongman, basically because he's just a really big, strong man. You've got Maggie Esmeralda, played by Emma Roberts. She's a con artist, but she goes into the Freak Show as kind of a psychic. So that's how she worms her way into the Freak Show, by pretending she's a psychic and that she can read people's futures. Then you've got Dandy. Oh, Dandy. Dandy is a spoilt, rotten psychopath. Yeah, he wants to be a freak. You've also got Desiree. She's known as the three-breasted woman. She has issues that she had at birth and hormones and that affected her as she went through puberty, which led to her developing a third breast. You've got Ethel, who's played by Kathy Bates, and she is the bearded lady. I find it interesting how so many of these things at the time were considered kind of really freak things, and now we understand what's happening. It's just like, I've worked with a woman who had a beard and she was proud of it. She grew it out and it was just like, yeah, thanks for owning that, because the fact is nowadays we understand it's related to hormones. So many things related to our hormones can affect us in different ways, whether that's the three-breasted lady who develops a third breast, or whether that's from how we grow hair on our faces. It's just like every so often I have to pluck something out, and you know, I think we've all done it, and I think a lot of the time it's men not understanding what women go through in puberty. To be fair, I probably blanked out a lot of the stuff about what boys go through during puberty just because I felt like I didn't need to know that when I was dealing with my own issues. It's just weird to think how so many things which back then were considered freak-ish, we have an explanation for now. Yeah, then we've also got what is considered the worst part of this series, and when I say worst I mean just kind of the serial killer side of it with Twisty the Clown. God, the clown, oh, it's horrifying. And it becomes even worse when Dandy gets involved and he starts putting on the clown's mask, and you're just like, oh God, no. I don't do well with clowns. So as I am editing this and I see me telling the world how I don't do well with clowns, I have just finished watching Cult. To those who have watched Cult, there's a lot of clowns. So yeah, past Debs didn't know what was coming. I've got Tim Curry as Pennywise just burned into my memory, and I've no idea how old I was when I first had that image ingrained in there, but thanks to Tim Curry I am absolutely terrified of clowns, and I think a lot of people are now. This season was kind of amazing. There's Legless Susie, who is portrayed by Rose Siggins, and the thing is, I remember seeing an article about her a few years ago, so the fact that they actually managed to get someone with this actual disability for the show is quite incredible. And what I love about this season is that the majority, I say the majority, obviously not all because Sarah Paulson is playing twins, but a lot of people do have the disabilities that they are portraying, and I think that's incredible for a television show to say, no, you know, we might have a couple of people who are acting this, but for a lot of this, we're not just going to kind of manipulate things in like post-production. We're going to get people who actually have the things that we are trying to portray here. You've got Matt Fraser. It says he's a rock musician, actor, writer and performance artist. I swear he's done comedy at some point. But he has thalidomide-induced phocomelia. I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he plays Paul, the illustrated seal. and he has aphakimelia of both arms. It's a condition that involves the malformations of human arms and legs. On Wikipedia it says an extremely rare congenital disorder. It was also affected by women taking a drug in pregnancy. As the drug was released onto the market in 1958 in West Germany, and it was prescribed as a sedative or hypnotic and claimed to cure anxiety, insomnia, gastritis and tension, and then it was used against nausea to alleviate morning sickness in pregnant women. It became an over-the-counter drug in Germany around 1960 and could be bought without a prescription. And then shortly after the drug was sold in Germany, between 5,000 and 7,000 infants were born with aphakimelia. Only 40% of these children survived. The fact that this happened is just... I don't even know what to say for that. Call the Midwife had an entire season kind of dedicated to what happened when women were taking the drug, which makes sense because, you know, it's set in the 60s and, you know, it's about midwives, so it seemed fairly obvious that they were gonna at some point confront that part of medical history because it was something that happened, and Call the Midwife is based on a real woman's memoirs. I find it interesting that with talking about Freak Show I'm also going in kind of the history of the different disabilities during this, just because it's a big part of the season. Amazon Eve, portrayed by Erica Irvin, it says that she's abnormally large. She's just basically a very, very tall woman, and that's why she's called Amazon Eve. I think in certain shots they may have manipulated her height a little bit, but she is 6'8", so she is tall. It says that by the age of 14 she was 5'11", and then she grew 9 inches taller over the next 4 years. You've also got Ma Petite, who's a performer in the Freak Show, and she was born with achondroplasia, extremely short stature, thus deemed the world's shortest woman. And she's actually portrayed by a woman who I believe was actually, yeah, she was declared the world's shortest woman by Guinness World Records with a height of 2 foot 0.6 inches. And her restricted height is due to a genetic disorder called primordial dwarfism. Ma Petite is portrayed by Jyoti Ange. Apologise if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. After all that, let's actually go into some of the storyline. I must admit, when I first start thinking about Freak Show, I have elements of other seasons coming in just because it's the same actors. I'm just thinking, was this the one with the aliens? It's just like, no, it's not. That was Asylum. But yeah, with Freak Show, you've got murderous rampages from a clown. You've got the storyline of the con artists working their way in. For me, I think the person who stole the show the most this season was Finn Wittrock as Dandy. Every single time he was on, I was just like, what on earth is he going to do next? You start off with him basically just wanting to, he's so spoiled, and his mother, played by Frances Conroy, obviously, she's just brilliant. His mum is Gloria, and she spoils him rotten. He is a rich boy who gets every single thing he wants. So when he gets a private screening of the Freak Show and falls in love with the twins, he is determined to buy them and take them home. And basically they're going, no, why on earth would you do that? Throughout the season, he does find a way to take them home, which throughout that whole storyline I was just there going, oh. Dandy completely stole it for me when he meets the clown. I must admit, I think this is the first season that doesn't really have that much supernatural stuff happening. I say that. There is ghosts. That's probably the most supernatural you get in this season, is probably with the ghost. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else supernatural in it. I think it's a lot more real than the other seasons. Because obviously season 1 was the haunted house. Season 2 was Asylum, and that had aliens. Season 3 was witches, so obviously you got the supernatural there. For this one, yeah, I think it was the most real so far. There is a ghost connected to the Freak Show, but other than that, everything is kind of looking at like the human side of things. The whole serial murderer clown thing really freaked me out. That was probably the storyline that scared me the most, combined with Dandy getting involved with the clown. And I'll admit, the clown storyline, the serial killer, is very similar in a way to it. It's definitely got elements of Stephen King to it because of the way that the clown is portrayed and how he lures his victims and how he kills them, there was definitely reminiscence of Pennywise the Clown. The storyline with Ethel, that's Kathy Bates as the bearded lady. I think Kathy Bates has a thing about taking on very complex characters. Obviously last time in season 3 she was playing somebody who was a real person, which just magnified the horrors of what she did. In this season you see her as kind of a normal woman who obviously has a hormone imbalance, which is why she's the bearded lady, and then you see her relationship with her husband, how that broke down upon the birth of her son, because what I haven't said is that Ethel is Jimmy's mother. The whole storyline with her husband gets people to pay to watch her give birth, because they say she's a freak because she has a beard and you can watch her give birth. And then obviously she gives birth to Jimmy, who becomes Lobster Boy. So it just adds on to kind of the heartache that that character goes through. Seeing how she kind of tries to sort her life out with the fact that, you know, her husband turns on her because he thinks that it's her fault that their child has come out like this. That storyline for me was very, very heartbreaking, including the Ma Petite storyline, which... The relationship between Ma Petite and Elsa is beautiful. It's obvious there's supposed to be a real love there, and so when you see what happens to Ma Petite later in the season, I cried. I genuinely cried on that one. I don't think I've got anything bad to say about it. I don't think there was anything in particular that I didn't like about it. Obviously when you've got like the sad storylines, obviously that's hard to watch. The horror part of this is the clown and Dandy. Because I think everything else, it's just like you're seeing these people's lives and how their lives have been affected by the disabilities and how they've been welcomed into Elsa's freak show because they are different. It's just like, no, I want you. You've got a talent. And, you know, this is something where I'm going to make something that you've been hiding away. I'm making it kind of the focal point and getting people to say, look, these people exist. And they're not to be laughed at, they're to be celebrated. And that's how this group of people have like this family almost. As with the other seasons, you know, there's kind of a happy ending of sorts for the good people, and you see the bad people get their comeuppance. But I'd say that, in a sense, the only real baddie are the clown and Dandy. And there's even a bit of a question mark over whether the clown really is a baddie. And that sounds insane to say considering the fact that he murders people. The storyline, when you look at what happened to the guy who played the clown, when you look at the storyline that led him to where he became Twisty the Clown, it's very focused on kind of like how one thing can just completely change everything. Because you never get told his real name, but when you look at kind of the life that he had before he went on this murderous rampage, and you kind of feel sorry for him. He's just getting on with his job, you know, he likes being a clown, he likes to entertain the kids, and then somebody spreads a vile rumour about him that takes away his love for the job. And he realises that he can no longer work as a clown for children because nobody wants him around their children because of this horrible, nasty rumour. And we realise that this rumour is definitely a rumour. He definitely wasn't the person that everybody thought he was. And at one point he even tried to become one of Elsa's freaks and got turned away because he just didn't have what she was looking for. He was a wounded man, but in Elsa's eyes he wasn't a freak. And so he thinks, oh, I'll show her that I'm a freak, and that's when something just clicks in his brain and he goes off and murders everybody. It feels weird to almost be defending a murderer in this context, but it just shows you that nobody is 100% good or bad, that everybody is like kind of multi-layered. Everybody's an onion, in the words of Shrek. And just when you see everything that kind of led him to where he ended up, when the ghost of the circus shows up, that's kind of like when you get his full story and he's telling his story to the ghost. And that's the point when you're just like, I hope this is the point when this character moves on, because he's finally admitting what led him to do what he did. So Twisty has his moment to say, this is what happened to me, and this is why I took it out on people. And once that is out, that's the weight that needed to be lifted. And this is time for that character to move on. But then when you got Dandy in there as well, and Dandy kind of takes over the Twisty the Clown, you realise that at the source of it, Dandy is the worst person. Dandy is the complete baddie, because he is the one who has been spoilt rotten since childhood, has never been told no. Even though obviously that's a sign that obviously it was the people around him who kind of made him the way he was. When he was told no, he never took that as a learning opportunity. He took that as, somebody said no to me and I need to make that a yes. So I'm going to carry on and go even further to convince them to say yes. It's similar to the Twisty the Clown story in which he goes, he tries, you know, he wants to be a freak. He goes and wants to be a freak. And Elsa turns him down and said, you're not a freak. Like, exactly what she did to Twisty. And Dandy comes back and says, I'm going to show you that I am a freak, which is what Twisty did. And Twisty eventually admitted to himself, yeah, this is my story. When I got told no, I decided to prove them wrong. And now I realise that I have done the worst possible thing and I need to get out of this life and I need to move on from this. Whereas Dandy never gets that memo. You may be trying to prove that you're a freak, but you're never gonna learn from that. Whereas at the end of Twisty's storyline, he learned something. Dandy never learns the lesson, and I think that's why he's so much more horrifying than Twisty the Clown when you look at the bigger picture of the season. Obviously the con artists in there do have some baddie elements, but there is redemption for Emma Roberts' character Esmeralda, and when she does turn on her partner, you have that comeuppance there. The way everything ends for Dandy, I'm not going to say how it ends for Dandy, but it's not the most satisfying. For me, anyway. I think for some people it might be satisfying, seeing what happens to Dandy and how everybody else kind of comes together to say, we are protecting our family from you. But considering how much he gets away with before they get to him, it just doesn't feel satisfactory at the end. When you do see, like, the final moments of the season, when it flashes forward to see what Elsa is up to kind of in the current day, and you see her in the end kind of reunited with everybody, she realises who her family is, and it's the freaks, because she is a freak, and she realises that she may have done some questionable things in her life, but she created a family. And yeah, God, I've been talking for 40 minutes. I need to shut up because this is going to take forever to edit. Oh. But yeah, I feel like I've said lots and also nothing, but that was American Horror Story Freak Show. Some of my thoughts from watching the full season. The next season I will be talking about will be Roanoke. No! The next season I will be talking about is Hotel. I have talked about elements of Hotel both in this video and others, but to actually have a proper sit down and talking about Hotel is definitely going to be interesting, especially with the introduction of Lady Gaga. That is going to be an interesting one to break down. After that there'll be Roanoke, and then I have just started watching Cult, the one that I have know absolutely nothing about. After that is Apocalypse, then 1984, and then season 10 is called Double Feature. If you like what I've been talking about, chat to me in the comments. If there's anything you wanted to see me talk about in the future, just let me know. Can you tell I enjoyed this season based on how long I've been talking for? I just found it really interesting, quite clever how they talked about certain things. And just the big thing for me for this season was the fact that they got people who actually had the disabilities playing these people. Obviously there are a few people in there that obviously do not have the disabilities or hormonal imbalances that they are portraying, which I think was a really, really good thing for representation. So thank you so much for watching this video. As I said, talk to me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. I'll pop something over here. Put it in there, Debs. Mwah!